there, I'm Jenna Goodhand, the host of We Are All Dying, a show to help us get comfortable with conversations around death in order that we can maximize the life we have left. On today's show, we talk to Jayne Dill, an end of life doula, about all the things we should consider before we die. Welcome to the show, Jayne. I'm so grateful to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Jenna. Happy to be here.
You are here as a death doula. And that is something, it's a new term for me as I explored this show. I'm really excited to kind of hear your perspective on your experiences, but can we start by just having you explain what a death doula is?
Like a birth doula who helps a woman and a family prepare for birth, go through the delivery and the postpartum care. I do the same in the event of a death or an impending death. We help prepare for the death. We can certainly companion with the individual during their act of dying and help support with the family post-death regarding the funeral, some grief work arrangements.
At what point would people contact you if they were looking for your services?
I've had people contact me at various levels. So a lot of them they've been given a diagnosis, they've been given X number of weeks or months, and they don't know what to do. They're stuck. What do I do? What's next? That's one capacity. The other one is I've had people that have had no illness and they're just thinking down the road and trying to be as prepared as possible. I've also had younger people with young children that didn't realize that they really should have guardianship for their young children, should both parents be deceased. So it's pretty wide open. I prefer to be contacted earlier to build a more deeper relationship prior to the death as I'm working with families.
Yeah, that was my question was, if there was an ideal time to sort of start this process with people, the earlier the better.
The earlier the better, yes.
Yeah. Why is it so important to you that you help people with this area of their life and this experience?
I look at death as a very natural and normal experience, and our society is a death-denying society. I've had too many people come and say, I thought we had more time. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what the signs of impending death are. They don't know their options, that yes, you can have palliative care. Yes, you can go to hospice. Yes, this is covered by OHIP. People don't understand that. And it's heartbreaking. And my goal is to get this knowledge out here, to get people asking questions. You're not going to offend your physician. It's okay. And we do need to start talking to our families about our wishes.
And so something happened in your life that brought you to this point?
I have been a registered nurse for 40 years, and I have certainly seen a lot of death, good death, not so good death. I've seen a lot of suffering, and I have seen a huge gap in medicine between treating people and then saying, there's nothing else we could do. And that leaves them hanging. And I think we do a disservice by not opening up this conversation much, much earlier to patients that are dealing with a life-limiting illness. And not pointing the finger at anyone specific, but in medicine, we're fixers. And we treat death, we treat disease. They're the enemy, and yet death is a very natural experience. So just to have them aware that they do have options and there isn't an alternative to what we've been indoctrinated with.
Right. So if we're looking at some of the activities or practices or experiences you take people through, I know it's going to probably vary depending on where they're at with their life, but what are some things that a death doula will do with someone? And I guess I'm specifically thinking about the person who's passing, but there's things you're also doing with the family. So maybe let's start with someone who's, like you said, like a young parent who's thinking, okay, I have children now and I'm thinking about not being here forever. I want to work with a death doula. What are some things that you might do with them?
I would certainly work on an advanced care plan. So understanding that this is something that you put out. These are my wishes. This is what I'm willing to live with and what I'm not willing to live with. So it's not just, somebody gets the sofa and someone gets the painting, and it's more about your own personal, would you accept CPR? Would you accept being on a ventilator in intensive care? Would you accept dialysis? Would you accept a tube feed? Everyone has their own bar, their own level of what they will accept and what they won't. That's going to change. A 20-year-old is going to have different answers than an 80-year-old. A 20-year-old is going to have different answers than a 20-year-old with a critically ill disease. So just to get them thinking about these things, because a car accident happens in a heartbeat.
Right.
And people are not prepared. And now someone needs to make these decisions. So along with the advanced care plan is power of attorney. Because if I'm in a car accident today and I'm in intensive care on a ventilator, I can't speak. I'm going to be sedated. There's going to be no conversation. Someone needs to know what I am willing to have done and what I'm not. So you need to have your power of attorney in place and have the conversation. Because some people are power of attorneys. They had no idea they were the power of attorney. So it's just choosing very carefully, because this person is going to make decisions on whether you continue treatment, withdraw treatment, go to a long-term care home, all of these kinds of decisions. And I'm specifically focused on the healthcare side, because there's the whole financial side as well. Access to bank accounts, your stocks, your bonds, all of that. So power of attorney is only effective while you are alive. Once there's a death, then the executor takes over. So have your plan in place, have your power of attorney in place, have the discussion. And I generally tell people, pull it out, pick a date, an anniversary, a birthday, pull it out, look at it again, and see if that's still the way you want it. Because our situations change, right? Our marriages change, our health changes, we get children, we lose children. So pull it out regularly and review it. Is this still what I want?
So, in addition to some of those logistical things that probably come up with regularity, are there some things that people have wished to plan that have surprised you or inspired you or changed the way that you practice?
Ooh. There's such a variety. I find I worked the last 18 years in adult oncology, and I found that the patient is always well ahead of the family on recognizing that they are dying. And in a palliative care clinic, they want to have this conversation. They're thinking of their plans. Do they want to die at home? Do they want to die in hospital? Do they want to go to hospice? And the family may still be on there, we're going to fight this. And there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen there. So initially that was surprising. After a while, it was not surprising. I think once people realize that they're facing death, there's that aha moment. And it's a really beautiful time, because they review, okay, what was important in my life? And it always comes down to people, not things, not stuff. It's the people, it's the relationships. So it always gives me goosebumps when they get that aha moment and those existential questions come up. And it's a real privilege to be witness to that.
Yeah. We always see those, regrets of the dying, and there's those common things that people think about in their last moments. Are there some that have surprised you? Like, are there some things that people have regretted or wished for? Or does it tend to just always kind of be the same?
It's always individual.
Mm-hmm.
No one regrets that um, no one says, I wish I would have spent more time in the office or worked more or that type of thing. I don't know that there's been a huge surprise. It just comes back to that humanity, that need for connection, that need for our community. Community building is huge.
Right. And so how has this changed your own life and your own thoughts about your passing and those around you, being reminded that everyone's time will come, including your own? How has that changed the way you live your life?
I'm prepared. My children think that I'm death obsessed. They are also prepared, and I have tried to normalize the death experience for them as much as possible. For example, my granddaughter, she was 4 at the time, and we were out for a walk. There's a squirrel on the side of the road during the day, not moving. And she says to me, "Grandma, the squirrel's sleeping." "No, honey, the squirrel is dead. This means he won't be climbing trees. He won't be eating. He's not going to be running around." But for her to recognize, there's life and then there's death. And I'm not going to play the game about sleeping, or I think language is a really, really important issue. I mean, I use the words dead. I use the words died. When we hear about someone that's passed away, we say it quietly or they've moved on, or there's so many different euphemisms that we use because we don't want to say died. I'm not sure why we're so adverse to saying that, but I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think these are the kinds of conversations I want to explore, because I think, like myself, like I'm death obsessed. I think about death a lot, and not in a way where it cripples me, but in a way that just really inspires me. Like I get another day today. Like I just really feel more connected to life when I remember that we're all dying, and people around me are all dying, and there's going to be a last time for everything. And I want to find ways to help others come closer to death, or even navigate the death in their life of others. And I wonder if you have, some thoughts on people who might be listening to this who are really afraid of kind of looking at death, whether it's their own or the people in their life. I think also you mentioned, people who are dying tend to know they're dying before the people around them have really accepted it. So, if we kind of walk through life with those blinders, like what are some things that you could help us to see or to think about as it relates to the people around us who are dying, and their wishes and experiences?
I think we need to lift that shroud off, and again, treat it as a natural part of life. I mean, the opposite of death isn't life. The opposite of death is birth. So we're born, we live, we die, and whatever your thoughts are on after we die, is there anything? Is there nothing? That's another whole topic. I think the more that we fear is because of a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, a lack of conversation. And when we can start to talk about it, it doesn't have to be that deep, dark, scary place. In my experience, people that have died due to life-limiting illness, this is part of the beauty of death, and it can be, is that they have time. They've got an opportunity to get their things in order, to have those conversations, to say goodbye, to say I'm sorry, to say, divide up whatever belongings they have, but they have that opportunity, particularly with people that are undergoing a MAID experience, because they have a date, so they know on this date I will be gone. What do I want to do between now and that date? That's one side. The other side is people that die. We either die fast or slow. Slow is age or illness. Fast is a heart attack, a stroke, a suicide, a car accident. There's no opportunity there. The opportunity is lost. So I think having the conversation, if you need to write notes, write letters, go ahead. If you want to write it and put it away in a box, okay. Have a journal, but just opening up the conversation, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah. Is there an experience that you want to share that has really brought some of this like more in light for you, whether it was someone passing quickly, a death in your own life, something with one of your
There is one gentleman I can think of. He was a patient. He was a head and neck cancer patient. So he had cancer in his throat. And the surgeon said, we can do surgery and remove this. And hopefully, we'll have a better hold on this, some chemo, some radiation. This gentleman, for his work, he needed to use his voice to talk. Should they do the surgery, he's not going to be able to have a voice anymore. And he chose to decline the surgery, which certainly sped up his death process. I was proud of him for making this decision. I know a lot of my coworkers were so surprised. Why doesn't he just do this? He could live longer. And this is where I mean where our bar is. His bar was what his choice was. But I was inspired that he took a stand and he followed through with it, and it was his choice. And that always, always, always needs to be respected, because my values are not the same as yours or anyone else's. And in this whole death industry, when I go and see someone and they make specific choices, I will honor that. I'm not there to coerce them. I'm not there to change their mind. I'm there to companion with them, to guide them, and to respect their choices. So as with this gentleman, he died on his terms and he maintained his dignity. So that was a win for him.
Beautiful. So MAID is fairly new, and I can't say that I've looked deeply into it on both sides, but my guess is that there's some people who maybe are opposed to it or are not accepting of it. You, I think, are, given what I know of you. What are some things that you might want to share with people who have an objection to it or feel as though it's not something that we should be doing?
I think a lot of it is they're not ready to let go of their loved one. And I mean, it will split some families, absolutely. And it's really unfortunate. We don't do MAID to kill people. We do MAID to relieve their suffering. There's a huge difference. If someone wants to die, they will die, whether MAID is involved or not. If someone has a terminal illness, they are going to die. And I think people that are opposed to it have been denied the realization and the acknowledgement of the suffering that goes with that. It's horrible. And we don't do that for our animals. So I think, again, more education, more understanding, would you want yourself in this position? Going from an independent person, having a job, to being totally dependent, can't get out of bed, can't make a meal, you can't do your personal care. There's a lot of losses, and it's loss on top of loss on top of loss. So there's the physical suffering, the psychosocial suffering, the spiritual suffering. There's total patient suffering. And we have to look at the total patient, not just at the organ or the particular disease.
Right. So you've made a plan for yourself that you probably review every year.
I do.
What are some of your wishes that go beyond, power of attorney and some of that logistical things? What are some things, if you're comfortable sharing, that you've included in your wishes?
Body disposition. What's going to happen to my body afterwards? There's a definite plan for that. Yeah. It's not cremation. I know cremation is quite popular. I think they're about 70% of deaths are with cremation now. There's something else called aquamation, which is a water cremation, basically. And you still get, like your canister of remains, which is bones. However, it uses about 80-90% less fossil fuels than fire cremation. And I think, we really need to be alert to that, how many fossil fuels are doing global warming, climate change. In the US right now, there are some states that have legal composting. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It's not legal in Canada yet, but that is certainly something I would consider, should it ever come this year. And it will. Whether I'll be on this side or that side, I don't know. But I would certainly consider that as well.
Yeah.
There's so many options that people don't know about the options either.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it's come out in this conversation, but the idea of like the death industry, like it's a whole economy of activities and businesses and organizations that probably most of us don't think about unless we're faced with the moment ourselves or even with family. And oftentimes, when we've just lost a family member, we're not really exploring. We're just trying to kind of get through the motions. Is there anything you've come across that's really interesting that you'd like to share that people could explore? I know I've seen things like, being planted as a tree, being made into jewelry. Is there anything else that you've sort of seen that you thought was meaningful or
Yeah,
clients?
there's you can be planted as a tree. You can be planted in a mushroom vest. Green burials, which there is one down in Niagara Falls. There's not one in the London area at the moment. Hopefully soon. But basically, you're put in a shroud and into the ground. So there's no casket. There's no embalming. So there's no metal. There's no wood. It's just you and a cotton shroud. You can, yes, be compressed into diamonds. You can be compressed into stones. You can be put into tattoo ink. You can be, ashes can go to build a coral reef. You can be shot up into space. You can go to science. You can have organs donated if you qualify. In Quebec, they have a body farm, which is used for forensics. So when they're investigating and police find a body, they can tell how long that body's been there because of the studying that they've done on body farms.
Wow. So interesting. Is there anything you want to leave people with today? Something you think one thing they could do that's little, or it's maybe like a quote that has stuck with you, or a thought, anything you want people to take away? You can give me a few if you want.
Well, talking about sex won't make you pregnant. Talking about death won't kill you.
I like that. I like that.
I think I just would really like to see this movement keep going through. I mean, using the sex education, that's in schools now. We need death education in schools. We need to normalize death. For sure.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming and talking about death to help normalize it, even just some of the language I've already learned from you to use instead of whispering or but just saying it like we learn to use words in sex ed, that we should just use the proper words, don't skirt around them, and that's the only way that we can really embrace what they truly mean. So Jayne, I want to thank you for being here, and also for all the important work you do. It's hard to imagine the role that you have, but I'm sure every person that you have helped in their final moments and the families is grateful to have had you there. So thank you for providing that part to our global community.
It is an honor to bear witness with people on this. One other thing, we live with community, we need to die with community. And community meaning, your friends, your family, but we need that broader community to chip in and help out with the family afterwards too. We're in a society where we don't live necessarily close to our families. We don't always know who our neighbors are. We've become very technical in our group. So I think building your community is really huge as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate you sticking around for that last point, because that is so key, right? From beginning to end. Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you, Jayne. I hope you have many more meaningful moments. And if anyone would like to connect with you or learn more about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
I am on Facebook. You can log in to London Death Doula. That's a conversational page. You can also find me at nowbeforeyougo.com. And that's on Facebook, and it's a website as well.
Thank you, Jayne.
Thank you, Jenna.